generator in there. Output must be immense. You cause a power surge in that beast and boom.
Digging around or something? No way Albion's putting this shit out on the street.
It cost me a news drone. Okay, maybe 3, but it's worth it if this comes off, right?
Might look empty, but it's not, for it contains the...
Getting to that generator ain't gonna be easy. They've locked it up tighter since I last saw.
Any bright ideas?
My news drones are still in here. They should be functional. You can use one of them. Probably have better luck piloting it too, yeah?
Well, causing a power surge in a hybrid powered generator isn't like making a toasty. We're going to need detailed specifications.
Well, let's go. See if we find anything. Oi, check this out.
Cool, looks bloody complicated. Newsy's got a pretty functional camera. Would a picture do you, Bagley?
It would indeed. According to this, there's an override code that'll get us into the generator's system. That's it. Use the code on the generator and I can trigger a power surge.
There should be enough to take King's Cross offline. And the rail system too. Here we we go.
We got a gold mine of information out of St. Pancras. Albion convoys, informants, gear, you name it. Everything we need to ignite the people of London, like we did in Camden. Derail Albion's operations and give the people a reason to rise up, borough by borough. The more we do that, the more we'll get allies flocking to the cause. We'll show London that DedSec is here for them.
That was off the chain, mate. I knew DedSec weren't the bad guys Albion was saying. Now the rest of Camden will too. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Now that you've shown the borough what DedSec is really all about, there are going to be folks wanting to join up. A lot of people have been looking for a way to fight back. In fact, there's one in particular I suspect will contact you very soon. I happen to know they're champing at the bit.
Now that's what I like to hear. The resistance is growing. Brrrah!
Well, fuck me, you're still alive. I owes have been a tenner. Not only that, but your resistance handiwork just opened up a whole new source of information. So now I spy with my hypothetical eye something interesting at the Ministry of Civic Management.
What is it?
The Signals Intelligence Response Service, or SIRS, or the Earl Grey Gestapo, have developed a surveillance technology called AR Reconstruction. It's the bleeding edge of privacy rights violation,
now
and thus it
disabled.
could be very useful in our attempts to find Zero Day.
Granite-scented, cosmically immutable, scientifically unarguable fact. But surely, Alice, a more important question for all these medicine freaks whinging on about feeling a bit poorly or having a fatal but curable illness and slowly dying of mental illness. Do we knows with a potentially fatal illness, would you not look around at the nation that we've become and think, hey Doc, put your life-saving treatment down, I'm going to take this free one-way bus out of here. Now hold that pillow over my face until the twitching stops.
I just don't think we should think of it in such a negative way. Don't think of it as a medicine diet, and you think of it as a series of healthy lifestyle swaps. Swap out anti-inflammatories for antacids. Swap out the iron lung for the aluminium lung. Swap out MRI machines for Mary machines, which is just a lady called Mary telling you you're fine.
If you're feeling out of your depth or like you could use a breather, you can always call on your new teammates to step in. It's your call.
Alone.
Here.
In theory, the AR reconstruction should allow me to use various sources of surveillance data to rebuild past events. Access a data relay, and I can scrape all the metadata for this area. I do hope you know what you're doing. That package is going to attract quite a lot of attention.
Urgent call. Possible hostile at your location.
Moving inbound to hostile. We're on their tail. Over. Driving into the vehicle. Over.
If you're feeling out of your depth or like you could use a breather, you can always call on your new teammates to step in. It's your call.
That's the advantage of working together instead of alone.
So many stories
Terminating
of cars
search.
shunting into
Control.
the back of others.
Put out an
I think they're
APW.
worse than human drivers sometimes.
The technology was meant to make things better, but Bloom has made it so bad that it just makes London even more chaotic than it was before. I'm giving up on the cars. I'm only using the bikes, which are not self-driving at the moment, at least. And don't even get me started on the data. Everything that Bloom sees from your movements around the city and the self-driving cars is collected and feeds back into its big information control system.
Oh, not you and Bloom and privacy again. You're a broken record.
Not as broken as our city's cars.
You're listening to The Bug.
Makers, nausea, vomiting and headaches. You're listening to The Bug, the Resistance comedy show brought to you by the Buccaneer Network. I'm Andy, joining me, as always, Alice.
I'm excited to be here. Apparently, the Resistance is not going well.
Again? Well, there has been some news about DedSec, the resistance and/or terrorist organisation, delete according to preference. Not preference, sorry, delete according to whether or not you work for the government, Sirs, Bloom, the Kellys, or Albion. According to a Sirs official, DedSec is no longer a threat, which I guess is true in that it was never a threat in the first place. Reminds me of when my grip knife at me trying to knock me out. Well, they called a scalpel and an anaesthetic, Gladys.
Finally out of my hands.
I guess we have to assume that DedSec has never been stronger. But I do... worry, Alice. I mean, sometimes I think, is there any hope? Do you still have hope?
I don't think I'm allowed to have hope. We're living in the self-selected, algorithmically designated information equivalent of a propaganda state, and every resistance that I've ever seen is weaker than the British pound. I feel like hope is an expensive thing to buy these days.
Right. I mean, is it all totally pointless? Well, I mean, it can feel pointless, but then again, I've spent almost all of my life doing pointless things like watching sport, thinking about sport, thinking about watching sport, learning French and hoping for a better future. All completely pointless. But yeah, I've done it. So we might as well carry on. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Yes, I think there is. Unfortunately, what is that light? Is it an oncoming train? Well, no, it couldn't be. Obviously, that train would be late or cancelled. Is the light at the end of the tunnel a burning effigy of the concept of hope? Quite possibly. Is it the soul of Sky Larson imploding into its own vacuum? May well be. Is it the ego of Nigel Cass that is now so big that it's sucked all the light in the universe into itself? I think that it is most likely is that, but we'll never give up, Bug fans. This resistance will never die. And one day, we will again be free. Free from these technological chains, free to choose our own futures, free to live our own lives, free to waste our time watching people bake cakes and dance badly again. Those were the days. Before we go, time for a quick bug off. I'm going to nominate this week Sky Larson here at the Bug. We are all in favour of strong, powerful women. And in many ways, Sky is the ultimate feminist icon, proving that women can do just as abominably awful things to